The thing about seeing your future in fragments is that you never get the full picture until it's too late. I'd seen this moment 3 days ago, my father's hand trembling as he signed papers that didn't have my name on them, but somehow sealed my fate anyway. I'd seen the marble floors, the crystal chandeliers, the 3 men in black suits who looked at me like I was a problem they hadn't asked for, but would solve anyway. What I hadn't seen was how cold the room would feel, or how my father wouldn't look at me even once. His medical records are clean, Dad said, sliding a manila folder across the table like he was selling a used car. Not his only son. 22 years old. Omega. Unbonded. He's good with numbers, and he doesn't cause trouble. Doesn't cause trouble, I almost laughed. The 3 men sitting across from us didn't react. They didn't even blink. Identical faces, sharp jawlines, dark eyes that tracked every breath I took. Triplets, alpha triplets, from the suffocating weight of pheromones pressing against my skin like a hand around my throat. The one in the middle, Kane, I'd learned later, leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled under his chin. "You're 2 months late on your payment, Marcus." Dad flinched. I didn't. "I know," Dad said quickly. "I know, and I'm sorry. But Ezra, he's worth it. He's smart. He's terrified," the one on the left said. Dominic. His voice was silk over a knife edge, smooth and sharp. His eyes hadn't left mine since I walked in. "And you're a coward." Dad's face went red, but he didn't argue. Couldn't argue. Not when he owed these men $200,000 he'd never be able to repay. The one on the right, Asher, finally spoke, his voice quieter than his brother's but no less dangerous. "Does he know why he's here?" "I told him," Dad said. "Liar," I said. Every head in the room turned to me. I smiled. Sweet, sharp, the kind of smile that made people nervous. "You told me we were meeting investors for your business opportunity. You didn't mention the part where you were trading me like a poker chip." Dad stood, chair scraping against marble. "Ezra, don't what?" I stood too, hands flat on the table, leaning forward even though my heart was trying to claw its way out of my chest. "Don't embarrass you? Don't tell the truth? Or don't make this harder than it already is?" Kane's lips twitched. Not quite a smile. Something darker. "Sit down, Marcus," he said, not looking away from me. Dad sat. I didn't. "You've got a mouth on you," Dominic said, tilting his head like I was a puzzle he wanted to take apart. "That's going to be a problem." "Only if you make it one," I shot back. Asher's eyes narrowed. "You're not afraid." "I'm terrified," I corrected. "I'm just not going to give you the satisfaction of seeing it." That was a lie, sort of. The vision I'd had 3 days ago had shown me this room, these men, this exact conversation, but it hadn't shown me what came after. My precognition was like that. Snippets, flashes, never the full story. Just enough to make me paranoid and not enough to save me. Kane stood and the room seemed to shrink. He was tall, taller than I'd expected, and when he walked around the table toward me, every instinct I had screamed at me to run. I didn't. He stopped 2 feet away, close enough that I could smell him. Wood smoke and expensive cologne, and something else, something that made my stomach twist and my skin burn. "You're not what I expected," he said quietly. "Yeah, well." I shrugged, keeping my voice light even though my hands were shaking. "I'm full of surprises." His eyes flicked down to my hands, then back up. "Are you?" Before I could answer, another flash hit me, sudden, sharp, like a slap to the face. Kane's hand around my wrist. A bedroom with floor-to-ceiling windows. Rain. His voice low and rough. "You're ours now. You understand that, don't you?" I blinked and the vision was gone. Kane was staring at me, head tilted, eyes narrowed. "What just happened?" "Nothing," I said too quickly. "Well, you zoned out," Dominic said from behind me. I hadn't heard him move. "For 3 seconds, your pupils dilated." "Shit." "I'm fine," I said, stepping back, putting distance between us. "Just processing the fact that my dad's a piece of shit, and I'm apparently being handed off to the Mafia like a party favor. Asher stood too, and now all three of them were on their feet, circling me like wolves. He's lying. Obviously, Kane said. His eyes hadn't left mine. The question is why? Because if they knew what I could do, if they knew I could see pieces of the future, they'd never let me go. They'd keep me, use me, chain me to whatever empire they were building in the shadows of New Jersey's underworld. I forced a laugh, bitter and sharp. You want the truth? Fine. I think you're all assholes. I think my father's worse. And I think whatever this is, I gestured at the room, at them, at the suffocating deal being made in my name, is going to end badly for everyone. Silence. Then Kane smiled. Slow, dangerous, inevitable. We'll see about that. And that's when I smelled it. Leather, smoke, rain-soaked earth. Not just pheromones, not just alpha. Mate, no, 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 no. All three of them inhaled at the same time, and I watched their expressions shift. Shock, hunger, recognition. Dominic's voice was a low growl. You've got to be kidding me. Asher took a step closer, nostrils flaring. That's not possible. Kane's smile widened, and I realized, too late, that I just made everything so much worse. Looks like we just bought ourselves a mate, brothers. I was so fucked. My body decided that now was the perfect time to betray me. Her heat crawled up my spine, my sense spiking involuntarily, filling the room with something I couldn't take back. Honeyed warmth and rain-soaked petals. The kind of scent that made alphas lose their minds. All three of them inhaled again, deeper this time, and I watched their pupils blow wide. No, I said out loud, backing up until my legs hit the table. Absolutely not. Nope, not happening. Kane moved first, closing the distance I'd tried to create in 2 strides. You can deny it all you want. Doesn't change what you are. What I am, I snapped, pressing my palms against his chest to keep him from getting closer, is someone who didn't sign up for this psychotic, supernatural speed dating bullshit. His chest was solid under my hands, warm. I yanked them back like I'd been burned. Dominic laughed, low and dark. He's got jokes. I like that. I'm not joking, I said, eyes darting between the three of them. They'd formed a loose triangle around me without me even noticing. Predators. That's what they were. And I was cornered. This is a mistake. Mate bonds they don't work like this. Not with 3 people. Rare, Asher said quietly, still watching me with that unnerving focus. But not impossible. Another flash hit me, harder this time. A bed. Silk sheets tangled around my legs. Kane's hand on my hip, possessive. Dominic's mouth on my throat. Asher's voice, rough with need. You feel that? You're ours. You've always been ours. I gasped, stumbling, and Asher caught my elbow before I could fall. There it is again, he murmured, his grip firm but not painful. What are you seeing? Nothing, I lied, jerking my arm free. My heart was hammering so hard I thought it might crack a rib. I'm seeing nothing because there's nothing to see. This whole thing is insane. Ezra, Dad said, and I'd almost forgotten he was still in the room. He sounded desperate, pathetic. Just listen to them. Please. They're willing to forgive the debt if I what? I whirled on him, and the rage I'd been swallowing for the past 20 minutes finally clawed its way out. If I let them keep me like some kind of prize? If I smile and play along because you gambled away money you didn't have and decided I was the solution? His face crumpled. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about the bond. You didn't care, I spat. That's worse. Silence dropped like a guillotine. Kane's voice cut through it, cold and final. Get out, Marcus. Dad's head snapped up. What? You heard me. Kane didn't even look at him. His eyes were still on me, dark and unreadable. Your debt is cleared. The Omega stays. You leave. Now. But Now, Dominic repeated, and there was no mistaking the threat in his tone. Dad stood, chair scraping again, and for a second I thought he might actually fight for me, defend me, say something that proved he gave a single damn. Instead, he picked up his jacket and walked to the door. He didn't look back. The door clicked shut behind him, and the sound echoed in my chest like a funeral bell. "Well," I said, voice too bright, too sharp. "That was heartwarming. Really, I'm tearing up over here." Kane's expression didn't change. "You're angry." "I'm hilarious," I corrected. "There's a difference." "You're deflecting," Asher said. I glared at him. "You're perceptive. Gold star." "Can I go now?" "No," all three of them said at the same time. Of course not, because my life wasn't a dumpster fire enough already. I crossed my arms, trying to look braver than I felt. "So what's the plan here? You lock me in a tower? Make me cook and clean? Force me to listen to your villain monologues about world domination?" Dominic smirked. "You think we're villains? You're mafia kings who just bought a person." I shot back. "What else would I call you?" "Smart," Kane said. "For starters." I blinked. "Excuse me." He took a step closer, and I hated that I didn't move back this time. Hated that part of me wanted him closer, wanted to know what his hands would feel like if he actually touched me. Stupid biology, stupid mate bond, stupid everything. "You're smart," he repeated, voice low. "You're quick, observant. You saw this coming, didn't you?" My stomach dropped. "I don't know what you're talking about." "You zoned out twice," Asher said, moving to my left. Not threatening, just there, present, grounding almost. Both times right before something significant happened. That's not coincidence. "Maybe I'm just bad at eye contact," I tried. "Maybe you're lying," Dominic countered from my right. I was surrounded again, trapped. And the worst part? My body wasn't screaming at me to run anymore. It was leaning in, drawn to them like gravity, like I'd been looking for them my whole life and didn't even know it. I shoved that feeling down so hard it hurt. "Fine," I bit out. "You want the truth? I see things, future things. Little moments, nothing useful. It's not like I can predict lottery numbers or stop disasters. I just get flashes. And yeah, I saw this room. I saw you. I saw my dad selling me like livestock. But I didn't see this." I gestured between us. At the bond, I could feel tightening like a noose. "I didn't see you'd be my mates, so clearly my powers are as useless as everyone says." Kane's eyes darkened. "Who says that?" "Everyone," I muttered. "Every alpha I've ever met. Precognition isn't exactly a marketable skill in the Omega world. We're supposed to be soft and compliant and boring," Dominic finished, grinning. "Yeah, you're definitely not that." "Thanks," I said flatly. "That makes being kidnapped so much better." "You're not kidnapped," Asher said gently. "You're protected." I laughed, bitter and sharp. "From what? My own terrible decisions? Because newsflash, I didn't make this one." "From everyone else," Kane said. And then something in his voice made me look up. Made me actually see him for the first time since I walked into this room. He looked tired, not physically, but like he'd been carrying something heavy for too long and didn't know how to put it down. "You don't know us yet," he continued, quieter now. "And we don't know you. But the bond is real. You feel it, don't you?" I did. God help me, I did. It was a pull, low in my gut, a whisper under my skin that said, "Safe, home, mine." But I'd learned a long time ago not to trust feelings. "What I feel," I said slowly, "is trapped." Dominic's smirk faded. Asher's jaw tightened. Kane just watched me, expression unreadable. Then another vision slammed into me, so vivid I gasped. Blood on my hands, a body on the floor. Kane's voice, erect. "You weren't supposed to be here." I sucked in a breath, and the room spun back into focus. All three of them were staring at me now, concern etched into identical faces. "What did you see?" Asher asked, voice urgent. I swallowed hard, tasting copper and fear. "Nothing good." The words hung in the air like smoke, and I wished I could take them back. Not because they weren't true, but because now all three of them looked at me like I was a bomb that might go off. Kane moved first, his hand reaching for my arm. I flinched back on instinct. "Don't touch me," I said, hating how my voice shook. "I'm fine. It's fine. Everything's fine." "You're a terrible liar," Dominic observed, but for once he wasn't smirking. He actually looked worried, which was somehow worse than the predatory confidence from before. "It's a gift," I muttered, pressing my palms against my eyes. The vision was still there, burned into my retinas like a camera flash. Blood, so much blood, and Kane's voice, broken in a way I didn't think was possible for someone like him. "Ezra." Asher's voice was soft, careful, like he was talking to something wounded. "What did you see?" I dropped my hands and met his gaze. Gray eyes, storm cloud dark, with flecks of silver that caught the light. He looked genuinely concerned, and I didn't know what to do with that. I stopped, swallowed, tried again. "It doesn't matter, the future isn't set. I see possibilities, not certainties. Could be nothing." "Could be something," Kane countered. His jaw was tight, tension radiating off him in waves. "Tell us." "Why?" I shot back, finding my spine again. "So you can what? Lock me up? Use me as your personal fortune teller?" "No thanks. I've had enough of people trying to profit off what I can do." Dominic's expression shifted, something dangerous flickering behind his eyes. "Who tried to use you?" "Doesn't matter. They're not relevant anymore." "They are if they hurt you," Asher said quietly, and the protective edge in his voice made my chest do something complicated and annoying. I laughed, sharp and humorless. "Newsflash, guys. Everyone hurts me eventually. That's kind of how my life works. Dad just made it official tonight." Silence fell again, heavier this time. I could feel their anger, not directed at me, but at the situation, at my father, at whatever invisible enemies they were already cataloging in their heads. "You're not property," Kane said finally. "I need you to understand that." I raised an eyebrow. "Really? Because an hour ago your opening line was basically, 'We just bought ourselves a mate.' Mixed signals much?" A muscle ticked in his jaw. "Poor choice of words." "You think?" "What I meant," he continued, voice dropping to something that vibrated in my bones, "is that the bond makes you ours, and we take care of what's ours." "Super comforting," I deadpanned, really feeling the autonomy here. Dominic snorted. "You're going to be a problem, aren't you?" "Your favorite problem," I corrected with a sweet smile that was all teeth. He grinned back, and for a second I saw something genuine in it. Something that made him look less like a mafia enforcer and more like a guy who enjoyed a good verbal sparring match. "I think I'm going to like you," he said. "Don't," I replied. "And I'm terrible company. Ask anyone." "We will," Asher said, and I couldn't tell if he was joking or not. Another flash hit me, smaller this time, barely a flicker. Asher's hand in mine, fingers intertwined. A rooftop somewhere, city lights below. His voice, "You're safe here. I promise." I blinked and he was staring at me again, eyes narrowed. "You just did it again," he said. "Did what?" I tried to play dumb, but my heart was racing and I knew they could probably hear it. Stupid alpha senses. Zoned out, pupils dilated, breathing changed. He tilted his head, studying me like I was a puzzle. "You see us, don't you? In the future." "I see a lot of things," I hedged. "Doesn't mean they'll happen." "But they could," Kane pressed. "What did you see just now?" I crossed my arms, defensive. Nothing important." "Liar," all three of them said in unison, and I would have laughed if I wasn't so freaked out by how in sync they were. "Okay, this is creepy," I said, gesturing at them. "The triplet mind meld thing? Super creepy. Do you share a brain, or is it just really good coordination?" "Both," Dominic said with a grin. "We grew up finishing each other's sentences. Drove our mom crazy." The mention of their mother made something twist in my chest. Family. They had one. A real one, probably. Not whatever broken thing I'd been clinging to with Dad. "Lucky you," I muttered. The temperature in the room shifted. Kane stepped closer, and this time I let him. Not because I wanted to, but because I was tired of running, and we both knew I had nowhere to go. We're not going to hurt you, he said, and the certainty in his voice almost made me believe him. Whatever you saw, whatever you think is going to happen, we'll make sure it doesn't. That's the point of knowing the future, isn't it? Changing it. It doesn't work like that, I said quietly. I can't control what I see or when I see it, and I definitely can't stop it from happening. Trust me, I've tried. Then we'll try together, Asher offered, and the gentleness in his tone made my throat tight. I wanted to tell them about the blood, about the body, about Kane's voice breaking like something inside him had shattered, but the words stuck, lodged somewhere between my brain and my mouth, because saying it out loud would make it real. And I wasn't ready for that yet. I need air, I said instead, taking a step back. Sano, this room is suffocating and I can't think straight with all of you staring at me like I'm about to spontaneously combust. Where are you going to go? Dominic asked, not challenging, just curious. I don't know, I admitted, but standing here pretending I'm okay with being bonded to 3 mafia alphas I just met is not on my bingo card for tonight. Fair, Kane said, surprising me. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a sleek black phone. Take this. I stared at it. I have a phone. Not one that's secure. He pressed it into my hand before I could protest. It's linked to ours. If you need anything, if you see anything, if you're in trouble, call. We'll come. That's terrifying, I said flatly. That's protection, he corrected. Same thing from where I'm standing. Asher moved to a desk against the wall and scribbled something on a piece of paper. This is the address. Penthouse, top floor. There's a car waiting outside. Driver's name is Marcus. Yes, same as your dad. No, it's not a coincidence. We bought out his debt 3 months ago, and he's been working off the interest. I blinked. You're joking. Do I look like I'm joking? He didn't. None of them did. So what? I said slowly. I'm just supposed to go live in your penthouse like some kind of kleptomega? You're supposed to be somewhere safe while we figure this out, Kane said. The bond is new. For all of us. We need time. And if I say no, Dominic's smile was sharp, then we'll follow you home and camp outside your apartment like creepy stalkers until you change your mind. He's not joking either, Asher added helpfully. I looked between the 3 of them, these powerful, dangerous, impossibly frustrating alphas who smelled like home and trouble in equal measure, and realized I was completely, utterly screwed. Fine, I said, shoving the phone in my pocket, but I'm not promising anything. And if this turns into some weird captive Omega situation, I'm burning your penthouse down. Kane's lips twitched. Almost a smile. Noted. I turned toward the door, then paused, glancing back. For the record, I still think you're all assholes. We know, they said in unison. Creepy. Definitely creepy. But as I walked out of that marble room and into the humid New Jersey night, my phone heavy in my pocket and their scent still clinging to my skin, I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd just crossed a line I'd never be able to uncross. The vision flashed again. Blood, body, Kane's broken voice. You weren't supposed to be here. Yeah, I was definitely screwed. The hallway outside the conference room stretched longer than it should have, all polished marble and recessed lighting that probably cost more than my entire college tuition. My footsteps echoed too loud in the silence, each one reminding me I was walking away from 3 alphas who could probably track me by scent alone if they wanted to. The phone in my pocket felt like it was burning a hole through my jeans. I made it to the elevator before my hands started shaking. Breathe, I muttered to myself, with jabbing the button maybe 5 times harder than necessary. You're fine. This is fine. You've handled worse. I hadn't handled worse. I was lying to myself, which seemed to be my new default setting. The elevator doors opened with a soft chime, and I stepped inside, immediately pressing the lobby button. My reflection stared back at me from the polished metal walls. I looked pale, tired, like someone who just had their entire life sold out from under them. Because I had. The doors started to close, and I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. A hand shot between them at the last second. You've got to be kidding me, I said as Dominic stepped into the elevator, like he owned it, which he probably did. Going somewhere, he asked, all casual charm and dangerous smile. Away from you, I replied sweetly. Niara, it's kind of the whole point of leaving. Can't let you do that. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed, looking completely relaxed in a way that made me want to punch him. Kane's orders. Kane can shove his orders where the sun doesn't shine. His grin widened. I'll be sure to tell him you said that. Please do, I shot back. Make sure you get the inflection right. Really emphasize the shove part. The elevator descended in tense silence for about 3 seconds before Dominic spoke again. You know, most Omegas would be thrilled about this whole situation. I turned to look at him, eyebrow raised. Thrilled about being sold to pay off their father's gambling debt? Thrilled about being bonded to 3 alphas who could give them anything they want, he corrected. Security, protection, money, our power. Wow, I said flatly. You really know how to sell the whole mafia mate package. Do you practice that speech in the mirror? He laughed and it sounded genuine. You're really something, you know that. So I've been told, I muttered, usually right before people try to use me for something. His expression shifted, humor fading into something more serious. Is that what you think we're doing? Using you? Aren't you? I challenged. I've got precognition. That's valuable, especially to people in your line of work. See the future, avoid the traps, win the wars. I'm not stupid, Dominic. I know what I'm worth to men like you. The elevator reached the lobby with another soft chime. The doors opened, revealing marble floors and a massive chandelier that probably cost more than my dad's entire debt. Dominic didn't move to get out. Neither did I. You're worth more than your power, he said quietly, and the sincerity in his voice caught me off guard. Right, I said, not believing him. That's why you all perked up the second you figured out what I could do. We perked up, he said, stepping closer, because you're our mate. The precognition is just a bonus, a concerning need to keep you safe from people who would absolutely exploit it. Bonus, but still a bonus. I wanted to believe him. That was the dangerous part. My body was screaming at me to believe him, to lean into the bond, to trust these 3 strangers who smelled like safety and sin. But I'd trusted people before. It never ended well. The car's outside, Dominic said, gesturing toward the entrance. And before you ask, no, you don't have a choice. But I promise the penthouse is nicer than whatever shoebox apartment you're living in now. You don't know where I live, I said automatically. He gave me a look. Oh my God, you already know where I live. We know everything about you, Ezra, he said, not unkindly. Your address, your job at that coffee shop on 5th, your college transcripts, that time you got arrested for trespassing when you were 19. My face heated. That was a misunderstanding. You broke into an abandoned warehouse because you had a vision about someone being hurt there. And I was right, I said defensively. There was a homeless kid squatting in there with a broken arm. I called 911. And got arrested for your trouble, he finished. You're a good person, Ezra, even when it costs you. I didn't know what to say to that. I didn't know how to process the fact that they'd done a complete background check on me, and somehow that made them want me more, not less. Another vision flickered, smaller, softer. Dominic's laugh in a kitchen I didn't recognize. Sunlight through windows. His hand ruffling my hair. You're such a pain in the ass. I love it. I blinked and he was watching me again, eyes sharp. What did you see? He asked. Nothing, I lied, pushing past him toward the exit. Let's just get this over with. The night air hit me like a wall, humid and thick with the smell of city life. A sleek black car idled at the curb, windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside. That's not ominous at all, I muttered. Dominic opened the back door, gesturing for me to get in. After you. I hesitated, phone still heavy in my pocket. The weight of 3 alpha bonds pressing against my chest like a vice. If I get in that car, I said slowly, everything changes, doesn't it? Dominic's expression softened, just a fraction. Everything already changed the second we scented you. He wasn't wrong. I took a breath, squared my shoulders, and slid into the back seat. Dominic followed, closing the door behind us with a soft click that sounded way too final. The driver's eyes met mine in the rearview mirror. Older guy, weathered face, guilty expression. "Hello, Ezra," my father's debtor said quietly. "Hi, Marcus," I replied, voice flat. "Small world. Smaller than you think," Dominic murmured beside me as the car pulled away from the curb. And I realized with a sinking feeling in my gut that I'd just walked willingly into a cage I wasn't sure I'd ever escape. The car's leather seats were too soft, too expensive, the kind that molded to your body like they were trying to keep you comfortable while your life fell apart. City lights streaked past the tinted windows, neon bleeding into darkness, and I focused on those instead of the alpha sitting way too close beside me. "You're doing that thing again," Dominic said. "What thing?" I didn't look at him. "Where you pretend you're fine, but your scent is screaming distress." I finally turned my head. "Maybe my scent is just naturally dramatic. Ever think of that?" He smiled, but it was softer than before. Less predatory, more human. "I think you're terrified and covering it with sarcasm, which I respect, by the way. It's a solid defense mechanism." "Thanks," I said dryly. "I've been perfecting it since middle school." Marcus turned left, in navigating through downtown traffic with the ease of someone who'd done this route 1,000 times. His eyes flicked to the rearview mirror again, meeting mine for a brief second before darting away. Guilt. I could taste it in the air, sour and thick. "So," I said, leaning forward slightly, "how long have you been working for them, Marcus?" His shoulders tensed. 3 months, since they bought your father's debt." "And did you know," I pressed, "that he was planning to use me as collateral?" Silence, heavy and damning. "That's what I thought," I muttered, sitting back. "Ezra," Marcus started, voice rough. "I'm sorry, I didn't know what else to do. They offered to clear my debt if I worked it off, and I have kids at home who need to eat." "Yeah, well," I stared out the window, jaw tight. "And guess we've all got our reasons for selling out, don't we?" Dominic's hand moved just slightly like he wanted to reach for me but thought better of it. "He didn't sell you out. Your father did that all on his own." "Same result, though, isn't it?" I said quietly. "I'm still here, still trapped." "You're not trapped," Dominic said, and there was an edge to his voice now. "You're protected. There's a difference." I laughed, bitter and sharp. "Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, both scenarios involve me losing my freedom." "Freedom to what?" he challenged. "Go back to your apartment where the lock barely works? Keep working double shifts at a coffee shop that pays you minimum wage? Wait for the next person who figures out what you can do and decides to use you for it?" My head snapped toward him. "How do you know about that?" His expression shifted, something dangerous flickering behind his eyes. "We told you. We know everything about you, including the alpha who tried to bond you against your will 2 years ago." My blood went cold. "Don't," I said, voice low and shaking. "Don't talk about that." "Why not?" Dominic's voice was calm, controlled, but I could feel the rage simmering underneath. "Because it hurts? Because you spent 2 years pretending it didn't happen?" "Because it's none of your business," I snapped. "It became our business the second we bonded," he countered. "That alpha who hurt you? Marcus found him last week, in a ditch outside Atlantic City. Someone broke both his legs and left him there." I stared at him, heart hammering. "You didn't." "We didn't know you then," Dominic said simply. "Achun, but someone did. Someone who cared enough to make sure he couldn't hurt anyone else." A flash hit me, sharp and sudden. A dark alley. Rain. A figure on the ground, screaming. Someone standing over him with bloody knuckles, breathing hard. A voice I almost recognized. "Touch him again, and I'll kill you." I gasped, and Dominic caught my arm as I swayed. "Easy," he murmured. "I've got you." "I don't need you to have me," I said, but my voice was too weak to be convincing. "Liar," he said softly, and this time his hand stayed on my arm, warm and steady. Marcus cleared his throat. "We're almost there." I looked up, realizing we'd left downtown behind. The buildings here were taller, sleeker, the kind of architecture that screamed old money and dangerous power. And we pulled up to a high-rise that looked like it belonged in a movie about billionaires and secret empires. "Of course you live here," I muttered. "Top floor," Dominic said, finally letting go of my arm. "Penthouse. 3 bedrooms in case you were wondering. You'll have your own space." "How generous," I said flatly. The car stopped. Marcus got out first, opening my door like I was someone important instead of someone who'd just been bought. "I'm sorry," he said again, quieter this time. "For what it's worth." I looked at him, this man who'd been trapped by debt just like me, who'd made choices he probably hated just to survive. "It's worth something," I said finally. "Not much, but something." He nodded, relief flickering across his face. Dominic stepped out, waiting for me. The night air was cooler here. We're away from the congestion of downtown, and I could smell rain coming, storm clouds gathering on the horizon. Another vision flickered, rain on glass, a penthouse window, Kane's reflection behind mine, his hand on my shoulder, his voice rough. "You should have told us sooner." I blinked and Dominic was watching me again. "What did you see this time?" he asked. "Rain," I said, which wasn't a lie, just not the whole truth. He studied me for a long moment, then nodded toward the entrance. "Come on, Kane and Asher are waiting." "Of course they are," I muttered, but I followed him anyway, because what choice did I have? The lobby was all marble and gold, a doorman who nodded respectfully at Dominic, an elevator that required a key card to access the top floor. As the doors closed around us, sealing me in with an alpha who smelled like smoke and danger and something that made my chest ache, I realized something terrifying. I didn't want to run anymore, and that was going to destroy me. The elevator climbed, and I counted my heartbeats, trying to steady the panic rising in my throat. Dominic's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, then at me. "Kane wants to know if you're okay." "Tell him I'm peachy," I said. "I'll tell him you're deflecting again." "Same thing." The elevator dinged softly. Top floor. The doors opened onto a private hallway, and at the end of it, a single door. Dominic placed his hand on the biometric scanner. The lock clicked. "Ready?" he asked. "No," I said honestly. He pushed the door open anyway. And there they were. Kane and Asher. They're standing in a living room that looked like it cost more than most people made in a lifetime. Both of them turning to look at me with identical expressions of relief and possession. "Welcome home," Kane said. I swallowed hard. This wasn't my home, but my traitorous heart stuttered anyway. "Don't call it that," I said, stepping into the penthouse, but not far enough to seem comfortable. "Home implies choice. This is more like very expensive kidnapping." Asher's mouth twitched, almost a smile. "You have a real gift for ruining moments." "I know," I said. "I'm thinking about putting it on my resume." The penthouse was ridiculous. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, furniture that probably cost more than my entire year's salary, and an open kitchen with marble countertops that gleamed under recessed lighting. Everything was clean lines and dark colors, expensive and cold, and exactly what I'd expect from 3 Mafia alphas. Kane moved first, crossing the space between us in 3 strides. He stopped just inside my personal bubble, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating off him. "How are you feeling?" he asked, and the genuine concern in his voice caught me off guard. "Like I've been hit by a truck," I said honestly. "A very attractive, very dangerous truck that smells weirdly good." Dominic laughed from behind me. "Did he just call us attractive?" "I said the truck was attractive," I corrected. "I didn't specify you." "Same thing," Dominic countered. I turned to glare at him, but Asher had moved closer too, and now I was surrounded again. It should have felt threatening. But instead, my body was doing that stupid thing where it wanted to lean in, wanted to close the distance, wanted to trust them. Biology was a traitor. "You need to eat," Asher said, practical and grounding. "When's the last time you had a real meal?" I tried to remember. Failed. "Define real." His jaw tightened. "That's what I thought." "I'm not hungry," I lied. My stomach chose that exact moment to growl, loud and betraying. Kane's expression shifted, something protective flickering across his face. "Kitchen. Now." "Wow, so commanding," I said, but I let Asher guide me toward the island anyway, because arguing seemed like it would take more energy than I had left. The stool was comfortable. Everything here was comfortable, which made me suspicious. like they designed the whole space to trap people with luxury. Asher moved through the kitchen with surprising ease, pulling ingredients from the fridge. Actual fresh ingredients, not the sad takeout containers I lived on. "You cook?" I asked him, surprised. "Someone has to," he said. "Kane burns water, and Dominic thinks cereal counts as a meal." "It does count," Dominic protested, hopping onto the counter like he owned it, which he did. "It's got all the food groups." "Name them," Asher challenged. "Carbs, sugar, milk, boom, 3 food groups." I snorted despite myself. "That's not how nutrition works." "Says who?" Dominic grinned at me. "You a doctor?" "Says basic biology," I shot back. "But sure, keep telling yourself Lucky Charms are a balanced diet." Kane leaned against the island across from me, arms crossed, watching with an expression I couldn't quite read. Amusement, maybe. Or satisfaction that I was engaging instead of bolting. "You're staring," I said without looking at him. "You're interesting to stare at," he replied simply. "That's creepy." "It's honest." I finally met his gaze, those dark eyes that seemed to see right through every defense I'd ever built. "Honesty doesn't make it less creepy." "Would you prefer I lie?" he asked. "I'd prefer you let me leave," I said. But there was no heat behind it. I was too tired for real anger. "No," all 3 of them said in unison. I groaned. "The triplet thing is still creepy, just so we're clear." "Noted," Asher said, cracking eggs into a pan. "How do you feel about omelets?" "I feel like I don't have a choice," I muttered. "You always have a choice," Kane said quietly. "You chose to get in the car. You chose to walk through that door. You could choose to leave right now and we wouldn't stop you." I looked at him, searching for the lie. "Really?" "Really," he confirmed. "But we'd follow you, make sure you were safe, because that's what the bond demands." "So I'm free to go, but you'll stalk me?" I clarified. Dominic grinned. "See? You're getting it." A laugh bubbled up before I could stop it, sharp and slightly hysterical. "You're all insane." "Probably," Asher agreed, sliding a perfect omelet onto a plate in front of me. "Eat." I stared at the food. It smelled amazing. When I picked up the fork, my hand was shaking. I hadn't realized how hungry I actually was until the first bite hit my tongue. Then I was eating like I hadn't seen food in days, which wasn't far from the truth. Money had been tight. It was always tight. Kane's expression softened as he watched me eat. "When you're done, Asher will show you to your room." "My room," I repeated. "Not your room, plural." "Your room," he confirmed. "We're not animals, Ezra. The bond doesn't mean you lose your autonomy." "Could have fooled me," I muttered, but some of the tension in my shoulders eased. Another vision flickered, so quick I almost missed it. This kitchen. Morning light. Asher making coffee. Me sitting in this exact spot, comfortable and sleep-rumpled. His hand on my shoulder as he passed. "Morning, troublemaker." I blinked, fork halfway to my mouth. "You saw something," Asher said, not a question. "Maybe," I hedged. "Good or bad?" Dominic asked, unusually serious. I thought about it. The vision had felt warm, safe, like something I might actually want. Good, I admitted quietly. "I think." The 3 of them exchanged glances, some silent conversation I wasn't part of. Kane moved around the island, stopping beside my stool. His hand lifted, hesitated, then gently tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. The touch was so careful, so tender, that my breath caught. "We're going to take care of you," he said softly, "whether you believe that yet or not." "I don't," I whispered, but I didn't pull away. "You will," Asher said from the stove, voice certain. I wanted to argue, wanted to push back, make a joke, rebuild the walls I could feel crumbling. Instead, I just finished my omelet in silence, while 3 alphas watched me like I was something precious they'd been searching for their whole lives. And the terrifying part? I was starting to believe them. My phone buzzed in my pocket, the one Kane had given me. I pulled it out confused. A text from an unknown number. "He knows what you can do. Be careful." My blood went cold. "Ezra?" Asher's voice cut through the sudden ringing in my ears. What's wrong? I stared at the message, heart hammering. Someone, I said slowly, knows I'm here. The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. Kane was around the island in a heartbeat, hand extended. Let me see. I pulled the phone back instinctively, clutching it to my chest. It's mine. Ezra, Asher said, voice tight with something that might have been fear. Let us see the message. Why? I challenged, standing up so fast the stool scraped against marble. So you can tell me it's nothing? What, so you can lie and say I'm safe when clearly I'm not? Dominic's expression had gone cold. All traces of humor vanished. Who sent it? Unknown number, I said, but my hands were shaking as I read it again. He knows what you can do. Be careful. He, Kane repeated. Specific pronoun. Someone who knows you, knows your ability, and knows you're with us. My mind was racing, flipping through possibilities like cards in a deck. The alpha who tried to bond me was in a ditch with broken legs. My father didn't care enough to warn me, which meant a vision slammed into me, harder than any before. A man's face I didn't recognize. Sharp features, calculating eyes. His voice. The precognitive Omega? Yes, I've been tracking him for months. The triplets don't know yet, but they will. He's perfect for what we need. I gasped, stumbling back against the counter. Ezra! Asher caught me before I could fall, hands steady on my arms. What did you see? Someone's been watching me, I choked out, tracking me, for months. The silence that followed was deafening. Then Kane spoke, voice carefully controlled. What did they look like? I described the face from my vision and watched all three of them exchange glances that made my stomach turn. You know who it is, I said, not a question. You know exactly who that is. Ezra, Asher started, but I jerked out of his grip. Don't, I snapped. Don't you dare try to manage me right now. Who is he? Dominic's jaw ticked. His name is Silas Kane. He's a business associate. Business associate, I repeated flatly. You mean another mafia contact? Something like that, Kane said. And I hated how evasive he sounded. Another flash, smaller, sharper. This penthouse, 3 weeks ago. Kane's voice on the phone. The Omega with precognition? Yes, we're aware of him. If Marcus defaults on his debt, we'll consider taking custody. The world tilted sideways. You knew, I whispered. Kane's expression didn't change. Ezra, you knew, my voice cracked on the word. About me, about my ability. Before tonight, before my dad brought me to that room, you knew exactly what I was. It's not like that, Asher said quickly. Then what's it like? I demanded, backing up until I hit the window. The city sprawled below, millions of lights that suddenly felt like they were closing in. Explain to me how you didn't manipulate this entire situation. We didn't manipulate the bond, Kane said firmly. That was real. We didn't know you were our mate until we scented you. But you knew I existed, I pushed. You knew what I could do. You knew my father owed you money. Tell me, Kane, did you give him enough rope to hang himself? Did you want him to default so you could claim me? The fact that none of them immediately denied it made something crack inside my chest. Oh my God, I breathed. You did. You actually did. We protected you, Dominic said, voice hard. That alpha who hurt you? We made sure he'd never touch anyone again. We've been keeping tabs on you for 3 months, making sure you were safe. Without my knowledge, I shouted, and I didn't care if I sounded hysterical. Without my consent, you stalked me, manipulated my father's debt, and orchestrated this whole thing so you could what? Collect me like some kind of prize? You're not a prize, Asher said quietly. You're our mate. How convenient, I spat, that the Omega you wanted to acquire for his precognition abilities just happens to be your mate. What are the odds? Astronomical, Kane said, taking a step toward me, which is why we didn't see it coming either. Don't come near me, I warned, and something in my voice made him stop. Don't you dare act like you're the victims here. My phone buzzed again. Another text. They've been planning this for months. Ask them about the contract. What contract? I asked, voice shaking. The silence was damning. What? Contract? Kane's jaw tightened. When we first learned about you, we discussed bringing you into the organization. Voluntarily with compensation. As a consultant. A consultant, I repeated numbly. For your visions, Asher added. To help us avoid threats, protect our people. We were going to approach you properly, offer you a choice. But then Dad defaulted and you got me for free instead. I finished. How lucky for you. The bond changed everything, Dominic insisted. We don't want you as a consultant anymore. We want you as our mate. How am I supposed to believe that? I asked, and my eyes were burning, but I refused to cry in front of them. How am I supposed to trust anything you say when you've been lying since the beginning? We haven't lied, Kane said. Omission is still lying, I shouted. You let me think this was random, that the bond was fate, but it wasn't, was it? You wanted me before you even met me. Sonona, the bond just gave you an excuse to keep me. Another vision hit me and this one broke me. This same kitchen, tomorrow morning, me alone, staring at a contract on the counter, legal language about voluntary consultation and precognitive services, dated 3 months ago. I looked at Kane, really looked at him, and saw guilt written across every line of his face. The contract still exists, doesn't it? I whispered. You never got rid of it. He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Get away from me, I said, pushing past Dominic toward the hallway. All of you. Just get away. Ezra, please. Asher reached for me. I yanked my arm back. Don't touch me. Don't talk to me. Don't pretend you care about anything other than what I can do for you. That's not true, Kane said, and he actually sounded hurt. Isn't it? I challenged. Tell me honestly, if I couldn't see the future, would you still want me? The pause before he answered was too long. That's what I thought, I said, and my voice was hollow. I walked down the hallway, found a door that looked like a bedroom, and locked myself inside before any of them could follow. My back hit the door, and I slid down, phone still clutched in my hand, heart breaking into pieces I wasn't sure I could put back together. The bond thrummed painfully in my chest, 3 threads pulling tight, begging me to go back. I ignored it. Another text. I can help you leave. If you want out. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed back, Who are you? The response was immediate. Someone who actually cares about you, not what you can do. I closed my eyes, letting tears finally fall, and hated that I wanted to believe them. The bedroom was enormous. King-size bed with sheets that probably cost more than my rent. Another floor-to-ceiling window, with a view I couldn't appreciate right now, and a door to what looked like a private bathroom. Everything was perfect and cold and exactly the kind of cage rich people built to make captivity comfortable. I wiped my eyes with the back of my hand, angry at myself for crying, angry at them for lying, angry at my stupid biology for making me want to forgive them anyway. My phone buzzed again. They're standing outside your door. All 3 of them. They look miserable. I froze. Whoever was texting me could see inside the penthouse, which meant cameras, which meant surveillance I hadn't noticed, which meant I was even less safe than I thought. Hey, Ezra. Kane's voice came through the door, quiet and careful. Please, let us explain. You had your chance to explain, I called back, proud that my voice only shook a little. You chose to lie instead. We didn't lie, Asher said. We just didn't tell you everything. I laughed sharp and bitter. Oh, well, that's completely different. My mistake. I feel so much better now. Silence. Then Dominic's voice rougher than usual. We fucked up, okay? Is that what you want to hear? We fucked up, and we're sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this, I said, standing up and pacing the room. My hands were still shaking. Sorry doesn't change the fact that you manipulated my entire life to get what you wanted. We wanted to keep you safe, Kane said, and I could hear the frustration bleeding through his control. Silas Kane has been hunting Omegas with abilities for years. He collects them, uses them. When we found out about you, we knew he'd come for you eventually. My stomach twisted. So you got to me first. Yes, he admitted, but not for the reasons you think. Then enlighten me, I challenged, because from where I'm standing, you're just the better-dressed version of the same threat. Another buzz, another text. He's lying. They wanted your power from the beginning. The bond was just convenient. I stared at the message, something cold settling in my chest. This person, whoever they were, kept reinforcing my worst fears, kept driving wedges between me and the triplets, which should have made me trust them, but it didn't. A vision flickered, small, strange. Silas Kane, the man from before, typing on a phone, smiling. With his voice, "Oh, just a few more messages and he'll run straight to me." Oh. The contract, I said through the door, thinking fast. You said you had a contract drawn up to hire me as a consultant. Yes, Asher confirmed. 3 months ago. And the terms? Pause, then Kane's voice, careful. Fair compensation, no coercion. You could walk away at any time. Show me, I said. What? Show me the contract. Slide it under the door. Right now. More silence. Then the sound of footsteps walking away. Where's he going? I asked. To get the contract, Dominic said. You want proof? Fine. We'll give you proof. My phone buzzed. Don't trust anything they show you. It could be fake. I typed back quickly. Who are you really? No response. I tried again. How do you know what they're doing right now? Still nothing. How did you know to text me at exactly the right moment to make me doubt them? The 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, I'm trying to help you. By isolating me from the only people who know I'm in danger, I typed. That's not help. That's manipulation. The dots stopped. Footsteps returned. A manila folder slid under the door. I picked it up, hands steadier now, and opened it. The contract was real. Legal language, professional letterhead, dated 3 months ago like they'd said. And the terms, you were going to pay me 6 figures, I said slowly. Just for occasional consultations. Yes, Kane said. And this clause here. I read it again to make sure. No forced visions, no coercion. I retain full autonomy and can terminate the agreement with 0 notice for any reason? Yes, Asher confirmed. I stared at the paper. This is actually fair. We told you, Dominic said, and I could hear the relief in his voice. We wanted to work with you, not trap you. But you still manipulated my dad's debt, I countered. You still orchestrated the situation so I'd end up here. We extended the deadline 3 times, Kane said quietly. Gave him every opportunity to pay. He chose not to. He chose to gamble instead, knowing what would happen if he defaulted. I closed my eyes, leaning against the door. You're saying this is his fault. I'm saying we're not blameless, Kane corrected, but we're not the villains you think we are either. Another vision hit, stronger this time. 2 weeks from now, this penthouse. Me, laughing at something Dominic said. Asher rolling his eyes fondly. Kane's hand in mine. Thumb tracing circles on my wrist. The bond warm and right and real. I gasped softly. Ezra! Asher's voice was worried. What did you see? Us, I whispered. I saw us. Happy. The silence on the other side of the door felt different now. Hopeful instead of tense. Is that something you want? Kane asked, and his voice was so careful, so vulnerable, it made my chest ache. I thought about the mysterious texts, about Silas Kane who collected Omegas like trophies, about my father who'd sold me without a second thought, about these 3 alphas who'd made mistakes but were at least honest about them now. I don't know, I admitted. I don't know what I want anymore. That's okay, Asher said gently. You don't have to decide right now. But you should know, Dominic added, that the bond, it's real. Whatever else we did wrong, and that wasn't planned, that wasn't manipulation, that was fate. I don't believe in fate, I said. Neither did we, Kane replied, until we met you. My phone buzzed one more time. Last chance. I can get you out tonight? Yes or no? I looked at the contract in my hands. At the door separating me from 3 alphas who'd lied and protected and wanted me in ways that terrified me. At the future, I'd seen where I was happy. At the choice I had to make. I took a breath. Then I unlocked the door. All three of them stood there looking exactly like the mysterious texter had said. Miserable, guilty, hopeful, and terrified I was about to run. I'm not leaving, I said before any of them could speak. But not because I forgive you. Not yet. Kane's shoulders dropped with relief. Okay. I'm staying because Silas Kane is worse, I continued, stepping out into the hallway. And because whoever's been texting me is him, or working for him, and I'm not stupid enough to walk into that trap. Dominic's expression darkened. He's been texting you? I held up the phone, playing the concerned stranger, feeding me exactly what I needed to hear to make me run. Classic manipulation. How did you know? Asher asked, eyes sharp. Because I saw him typing the messages, I said. Future vision, remember? Kind of my whole thing. A small smile tugged at Kane's mouth. Kind of. Don't, I warned, but there was no heat in it. Don't think this means we're okay. You still lied. You still manipulated the situation. That doesn't just go away because the alternative is worse. We know, Asher said quietly. One and we'll spend however long it takes making it up to you. Years, probably, I said. I'm very petty. Ask anyone. We've noticed, Dominic said, and this time his smile was genuine. I looked at the three of them, these impossible alphas who'd crashed into my life and turned everything upside down, who'd protected me without asking, who'd wanted me before they knew I was their mate, and somehow that made it more complicated, not less. I need you to understand something, I said, voice steady. I'm not staying because of the bond, or because I need protection, or because I don't have anywhere else to go. Then why? Kane asked. Because that vision I saw? I met his eyes. Of us being happy? I want to know if it's real, if it's possible, and the only way to find out is to try. Something shifted in his expression, hope and relief in something that looked a lot like love. That's all we're asking for, he said. A chance. One chance, I corrected. Screw it up and I'm gone. Contract or no contract. Bond or no bond. Understood? Understood, all three of them said. Still creepy, I muttered, but I was smiling despite myself. My phone buzzed again. I glanced at it. You're making a mistake. I typed back, no, I'm making a choice. There's a difference. Then I blocked the number. He's going to come for me, I said, looking up at them. Silas, now that I didn't fall for his bait, he'll try something else. Let him try, Dominic said, voice cold and certain. We'll be ready. Actually, I said, an idea forming. I have a better plan. Kane raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. I see the future, right? So let's use that. Let me look ahead, find out what he's planning, and we stop him before he makes his move. That could be dangerous, Asher said, worry etched across his face. Using your ability that intensely is exactly what I've been avoiding my whole life, I finished, because everyone told me I was too weak, too fragile, too Omega to handle it. But maybe they were wrong. Maybe I'm stronger than anyone thought. You are, Kane said with absolute certainty, but you don't have to prove that by putting yourself at risk. I'm not proving anything, I said. I'm protecting us, all of us, because like it or not, we're in this together now. The bond hummed in agreement, warm and right in a way it hadn't been before. Together, Asher repeated, and the words sounded like a promise. So here's what's going to happen, I said, pacing now because standing still felt impossible. I'm going to vision hunt, see what Silas is planning. You three are going to keep me grounded so I don't get lost in the futures. And then we're going to end this before it starts. And after? Dominic asked. I stopped, looked at him. After? After we deal with Silas, he clarified. What happens to us? The question hung in the air, heavy with possibility. I don't know, I said honestly, but I saw us happy. I saw us working. So maybe we figure it out, one day at a time. I can work with that, Kane said, stepping closer. Can I touch you? The fact that he asked, that he gave me the choice, made something crack open in my chest. Yeah, I whispered. You can touch me. His hand cupped my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone with devastating gentleness. I'm sorry for all of it, for lying, for manipulating your father's debt, for not telling you everything from the start. Me too, Asher said, moving to my left. We should have been honest. We were scared, Dominic admitted from my right, that if you knew the truth, you'd run, and we couldn't lose you before we even found you. I looked between them, these three broken, dangerous, impossible alphas who somehow saw something in me worth protecting, worth loving. You're all idiots, I said, but my voice was soft. Rich, powerful, scary idiots who clearly need someone to keep you in line. Is that a job application? Kane asked, lips twitching. Consider it a trial period, I corrected, with very high standards and absolutely zero tolerance for more lies. Deal, all three of them said. I groaned. We're working on the unison thing. It's non-negotiable. Dominic laughed, and the sound filled something hollow in my chest I hadn't realized was empty. Come on, Asher said gently. You need rest before we start planning. It's been a long night. Longest night of my life, I agreed, letting him guide me back toward the bedroom. And I once got stuck in an elevator for 6 hours with a guy who wouldn't stop talking about his fantasy football league. That sounds terrible, Kane said, following. It was character building, I replied. Like tonight, except with less emotional trauma and more sports statistics. They stayed with me as I settled onto the bed, fully clothed because I wasn't ready for anything more. And they didn't push, just sat nearby, present and protective and real. The vision I had, I said quietly, the one with blood. Hey, it doesn't happen if we're careful. I can see that now. Then we'll be careful, Kane promised. I closed my eyes, feeling the bond settle like roots growing deep. 3 threads connecting me to 3 souls I hadn't asked for, but maybe needed anyway. Ezra, Asher's voice was soft. Yeah? Welcome home. And this time I didn't argue, because maybe, just maybe he was right.